Hey y'all, it's me again, Jonathan with Race Kiki. We're going to try to have a fantastic conversation. I don't know why I say we're going to try. I'm about to have a conversation with the fantastic Thom Kam. He is Mr. Eagle 2019. He's native Hawaiian, and I want to get his perspective on race and racism in America. Looking forward to this chat. So, may I introduce to you Thom Kam. Well, hi, Thom Kam. Welcome to Race Kiki with Jonathan Lee.
Why, thank you, Jonathan. Lovely to be here. Lovely to be here.
Look at you getting all shy in the face.
Yeah. Actually, you can't tell this, but I'm actually getting flushed right now.
Oh, what? Mr. Walking around in harnesses with your titties out? You're getting flushed by little old me?
I know. Well, that's that guy. This is this guy. The twain does meet, but it's not the same. It's not all the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. That's a fair statement.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to have you on because when we've casually known each other in storytelling experiences for about a year or so now.
That sounds
and yeah, I think we came in contact with each other last year when we were prepping for our stories in Asbury Park during the quarantines.
Yep.
And I always found there's something very like mysterious and sexy about you, which I'm very curious about. And then when I found out you're from Hawaii, that opened up another question.
Yeah.
When did you learn about race?
I can actually pinpoint how old I was and what year it was. It's 1963.
Okay.
I was 8 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember at some point, and I don't know if it was actually at night or the next day, but somewhere in the course of a 24-hour period between watching black and white broadcasts of Leave It to Beaver or Lassie with my family and looking at all the white people in there and that little white boy behaving perfectly. And then being at school the next day and looking at myself and all the other classmates I had in Hawaii who were not white, it occurred to me for the first time, oh, we're not them. They're not us. I'm not white. Or as we'd say in Hawaii, haole. They're all haole. I'm not haole. Haole being the Hawaiian word for foreigner, which has come to mean anyone who's white. Haole.
Okay.
It was at that age there, because I would watch television and I would never think anything different of myself, my family, and the people I'm seeing on television. Until at some point, at that point when I was 8 years old, I went, oh, wait a minute, this is not my reality. This is not our world.
Now, just 4 years earlier in 1959,
yes.
as my research, because she likes to do her research.
You did too.
As my research tells me, Hawaii became a state.
Correct.
Now, Hawaii's statehood, and I use that in air quotes because as I further researched, Hawaii is a stolen land from a sovereign nation.
Correcto.
And then the queen was arrested and lived her life in exile.
Not in exile, in house.
Under house arrest.
Kind of a house arrest. It was way more genteel than that. She could move about as much as she wanted to, but she remained in her home and not in her position a power that she had and should have continued having. Queen Liliuokalani, yes. I believe that's in the 1850s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I
There's a
don't
lot.
even.
There's a lot there.
I know there's just so much, and as I further discovered, the mainlanders, the white folks who came over, colonized and I'm choosing that word perfectly. They colonized native Hawaiian land and then imported pineapples.
Yeah, keep following the dots. Go ahead. and
so Mr. Dole,
pineapple and sugar cane,
right,
and brought over from Asia, specifically China, Japan, Korea, the Philippines, workers to work on those plantations. Now, it's interesting because as we talk about the Hawaiian people, the indigenous Hawaiian people, and Hawaii, and my relationship to all of that, you've got to add on another layer. I am descendants of immigrant plantation workers on both sides.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
I don't have any Hawaiian blood. I am not of Hawaiian ancestry. I am not a Hawaiian. I am a Hawaiian like you're a New Yorker, if that makes sense, but I am not of Hawaiian ancestry. Okay.
Okay.
So there's that whole other layer of racial, ethnic identification that's part of my life. On top of my identification with local people in Hawaii, which includes all of the children of immigrant plantation workers. So there's a lot there. I'm just watching you trying to sort this out.
No. I'm trying to find the most appropriate question to ask because I'm on board with everything. That all makes sense to me.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because in my head, I'm equating that to the enslaved, my ancestors being brought over to the mainland, brought over to America, and our lineage, if you will, and its toxicity in relation to that land.
Yes.
But we're also forever bound to that land.
Yes. And you're hitting on something that's really important here when trying to get a picture of the local people in Hawaii. The local people in Hawaii, when I say local, it's really come now to mean all of the people who are descendants of plantation workers, all the immigrant, descendants, and the Hawaiian people, because Hawaiian people are incredibly gracious and accepting and welcoming. So we've all come to become part of what we all think of as local people in Hawaii. And we all have a great love for the land. It's not just we feel tethered to it because that's where we are and our ancestors spent their time toiling. But we really feel a great love and respect for the land. And when I say the land, I mean the Aina. That's a Hawaiian word for the islands, the land. And there's a real connection with the Aina amongst local people. You have great respect for everything that for the islands, the land, all of it, the water, the mountains, everything. We're very connected to it all, and that's something that we grew up with. We grew up with just without understanding it or having it imparted to us or explained to us. More recently, like in the 1970s. There's been a huge resurrection of Hawaiian culture and practices and thinking. And everyone now really understands and knows the relationship clearly, really can break it down, the relationship to the Aina.
I watched an incredible documentary the other day when I was prepping to have this conversation with you. I what I'm enjoying the most about this journey I'm on is getting to understand other people's culture and seeing how we're a hell of a lot more similar than different.
Yeah.
And how that similarity can bring us up together as opposed to furthering us away. But anyway, this distinction between Native Hawaiian and an islander, that is based on a one drop rule.
I'm sorry, what rule?
One drop, meaning if you have one drop of Native Hawaiian blood in your body.
One could say that, yes.
But
yes.
From what this, hold on, let me get the source because I watched it the other day. Let me tell you. And not that I'm debating anything that your lived experience. I'm just this is just what the documentary told me. And hold on. It's called Hawaii, the Stolen Paradise.
Okay.
And he was explaining that this white businessman trying to distance the islanders away from their land, if you are their ancestral land, had to tie it to, if you could prove that there was one drop of island blood in you, you could be a part of the nation. Otherwise, you were SOL. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah. I'm not sure how they break that down to like just one drop.
And it's kind of like that, the one drop rule that they use with Black folks. If you could prove that you had one drop of Black blood in your body, no matter what you appeared, you were Black.
I believe it's pretty much the same in Hawaii. If anyone's got any Hawaiian, it's like, okay, you're Hawaiian, no problem. And once it's said, that's like, it is a part of the local culture. Hawaiians are part of the local culture. Look, we come to think of and refer to Hawaiians with Hawaiian ancestry as Kanaka Maoli. Kanaka meaning man in Hawaiian, and I'm not sure what Maoli means, but that's the phrase for people who are Hawaiian in Hawaii, as opposed to just local people. Now, when I was growing up, I was very aware of that, but I wasn't Hawaiian. Okay. For several reasons. One, and I'm embarrassed to admit this. I grew up in a family where we were told that Hawaiians weren't as good as we were. And now this coming from children of immigrant plantation worker parents. Okay. And yet at the same time, I had Kanaka Maoli friends who were going to a really, really good school. The missionaries created a school called Punahou, which was for the missionary kids and their kids and their kids, and that was the intention. And it's actually part of one of the premier prep schools in Hawaii. The Hawaiians, Bernice Pauahi Bishop, at some point, she's like a princess. I'm not quite sure who she was married to or linked into how she's linked to the royalty, the monarchy. But at one point, she set up a trust for a school called Kamehameha Schools, which is a private school, no tuition. You only have to have at least 1/16 Hawaiian blood and be able to prove it. And those kids got educations as good as the kids at Punahou. So, I was being told that the Hawaiians weren't, as kosher, if you will, as we were, I had Hawaiian friends who were still getting better education and actually elevated in ways that I didn't get through the channels that was available to me.
Now, if I may ask, how do you racially identify?
Sorry, I have to. Well, on forms, I'm either mixed race or other.
Okay.
As it turns out, I do know for a fact, and actually I do know, that I am half Portuguese. And as it turns out, half Filipino. I used to be half Chinese, but that changed 2 years ago. Thank you, 23andMe. So when you ask me, how do I identify racially? It's very hard for me to like not laugh at the question and the life that I have, which is fine. I'm okay with it. When I was 39, I'm 66 now. When I was 39, my oldest brother, my family, there are 5 of us who were half Portuguese and ostensibly half Filipino from one father. And then 3 of us who were half Portuguese and ostensibly half Chinese from another, Kenneth Kam. When my oldest brother was passing away in 1993 at the age of 50, our aunt, my deceased mom's younger sister, came rushing over and said, "Before you go, you all should know that the father you think were each of your fathers is really not your father." And she started spewing off of like how different siblings were from different fathers, blah blah blah, and how that one of the Kams, there were only 2 of us Kams, one of us Kams were not really a Kam after all. So I stored that. I was informed of that by my younger brother through a phone call here in New York when I was 39, and knowing the history of my mom through her life at all those points in her life, and knowing that fully well that she was very involved with the Filipino Catholic Society at the time of my birth and conception, I just thought, well, if I'm not Chinese, chances are I'm Filipino. I sat with that from age 39. I'm like not really knowing, not knowing, and ultimately knowing that there'd be nothing for me to do about that information if it was so. I sat with that from like age 39 to 64. And then I finally did the 23andMe test, which sat on my table here for 6 months when after I first purchased it, because it was on sale on Mother's Day, ironically. I did the test, got the results, went, okay, so I am half Filipino. So what race do I identify with? None. It's a very, very strange thing. It's very strange. I don't identify with any particular race. Growing up in Hawaii, we're local. Local is local. It's all like one blanket culture. It's a mix of all the different cultures that feed into it, right? And growing up in Hawaii was actually quite different than growing up in the continental U.S. We were aware of everyone's ethnic differences, culturally, physically, our friends, even within our own family, and we always celebrated, made fun of, and celebrated the differences. That was how we all coexisted together. Okay, like it was, we'd make fun of the Philippines being this, having that, tribute, whatever, etc. The same with the Koreans, and so on and so on. So we all said, yeah, that's how they are, and we all laughed about it and embraced everybody completely. That's how I grew up. So I didn't grow up with the kind of separation divide that is part of the rest of the American culture.
That sounds wonderful, actually.
It is.
that sounds wonderful.
It is wonderful.
Funny enough, my entire life, my family thought we were Native American. We had some Native American ancestry. And my partner got me a ancestry DNA for my birthday last year. And I take the test and I tell my mom, I'm all like, Mom, we're going to find out what tribe my great grandma was from, because my great grandmother, very, very, very fair complected woman, jet black hair, beautiful bone. She was a stunning, elegant woman. She died when I was 27 and she was 100-ish, somewhere in there. And so I'm very excited. I wait the 6 weeks, I get my DNA back. Not a drop of native blood, not one single solitary drop.
But
I am filled. I'm an American descendant of slavery, so I have very many different West African tribes in me, in addition to Portuguese and Wales. And I tell my mom this. And she was devastated, is the right word, because she, in her head, she was having an identity of crisis.
Mm-hmm.
Because her entire life, and you and my mom are in the same season. So, in her entire life, she had lived with this identity, and it had been told to her, and she's one of 11 children that my grandmother had. And my grandmother was from my great grandmother. So it was just this whole lineage of people telling the same story. And then science tells me, well, that's really not true.
Yeah.
And it took her a couple of days, and then we talked about it, and we finally came to the realization that it may have been easier for my great grandmother to navigate the world as a Native woman than a child of rape.
Right.
But not to say that, but her parents were, what I'm gathering is her parents were both biracial or fair complected or what have you. So it matriculated its way toward me.
Right.
Yeah.
Ah.
But it was a humorous moment for my mom and I over the last year. Then I got her the same DNA test for her birthday. So she got all her DNA done. And she's, oh, I'm going to go to these places. She wants to go to all the places that we're from.
Cool. Wonderful.
Yeah. Maybe when the world gets less terrible, we will take a trip to Africa, various places in Africa.
How exciting. I hope you do.
Know. I'm excited to do that for her. I think it would be a fun, rewarding, enlightening trip for us.
Wonderful. Yeah, it would be good for both your souls, and a good experience, bonding experience for both of you.
When did you leave Hawaii?
I moved here to New York when I was 27 in 1982.
Okay, what brought you here?
I wanted to be on Broadway. It's taken me decades to just come up with that answer. It's exactly why I wanted to come to New York. I wanted to be on Broadway more than anything else. I also wanted to get away. From Hawaii, the local culture, because I never felt like I was really totally accepted in the local culture because I'm gay.
Oh, that homo thing.
Yeah, the homo thing.
So
things are different now.
You came to the house of the homosexual, which is New York, at that particular time.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing you found your way to Broadway?
I did. It didn't take too long, and it didn't last very long, but yeah, I did. And then after that, I was like, okay, well, I'm done with that. Now what? And I fell into a relationship, and that kept me here, and that relationship has morphed, and I'm still here.
How was the culture shock moving to Mainland?
It wasn't too jarring for me, and that's because I had. That was when I was 27. When I was 19, I left Hawaii for a year and moved to San Francisco in the mid 70s.
Okay.
You know, the period where the terms discotheque and clone came into being. Mm-hmm. As a 19-year-old piece of meat, mm-hmm. I was exposed to a lot and having a grand old time. And when I moved to New York 7 years later from Hawaii, it felt like home the moment I got here. The wide diversity of people who are here and how they all coexist together made me feel completely at home. Yeah.
That was in the 80s?
Early 80s, 1982, yeah.
Oh, wow. So you got here right before AIDS.
Just at the start of it. The first cases were found in 1981.
Oh, yeah.
I got here in 82, and I hadn't even heard about it, about the gay cancer or GRID or AIDS or anything before I jumped on a plane, before I got here. It was only after a few weeks I'm hearing about from friends people I was in contact with, and I thought, okay, well, what's going on here? Let's check this out. Let me just understand what's going on. And I did end up curbing my the breadth of my sexual activities almost immediately. Like really trimmed back a lot from what had been from my behavior, because I had been through all of the 70s, my teens and 20s in Hawaii and California.
So you worked through all of your whore phase.
I wasn't as prolific, let's just say that, once I got to New York.
That's a really diplomatic answer.
Well, it's not like I didn't go celibate, but I was not anywhere as active as I had been before. Yeah, which wasn't no big deal. It wasn't very hard. It wasn't as hard as you would imagine.
How was New York during the beginning of the crisis?
Well, the crisis started then, didn't really kick into full gear until several years later, when the numbers of men getting sick and dying became greater and greater and greater. So it was just this thing hanging that we were aware of that grew through the course of years, right? When I first got here, the pandemic wasn't a big thing in New York.
Okay.
New York itself was freaking wonderful then. It was like everything was accessible. Everything was easy to get to.
Okay.
I'd be slumming down the East Village, going to bars and clubs with friends, and going to the Met and seeing ballet and operas in standing room. The city was wonderful then, and it still is. It still is. But I was doing a lot. And there's nothing about the city that had me ever turn back at that point. I never looked back and thought, oh, maybe I should go back to Hawaii. No ways. It's like, this is the most perfect place for me to have been back then. And I spent my first few years being very focused on what I wanted to do, which was, pursue my career as a dancer, actor, singer. I think that also helped me not lick the underside of the belly too much during my first years here.
Right, because you had to be focused on your career and not focused on these men.
Right. Well, focus on surviving, like working, having a home.
Oh yeah. I forget about those little things.
Yeah, no one does. No one really does. When you first arrived in New York, like okay, so this is not the thing I should be admitting, but I arrived here with the money I had made on a dancing gig for a campaign for some drink or alcohol in Japan. There was just enough money to get me on the plane and here to New York. I arrived in the city with $150 in my pocket, which didn't last so long. I started working, getting odd jobs right away. Yeah, all kinds of jobs, whatever I could do right away. And there was a period there for like, I think 2 or 3 weeks where I was sleeping in the laundry room on all the clean towels at the gym that I was working at downtown because I was in between places. But I fortunately, luckily never had to sleep in the streets, in the park, and never hustled. No judgment against it, just never occurred to me as an option. Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it just never occurred to me. I tried it once.
Never occurred. Yeah.
I tried it once when I was 19 in San Francisco. It just was total disaster. Like, no, I'm not going to do that. Never. No need to.
Again, nothing against sex work, because
absolutely.
I've spent many a moment having conversations with sex workers, and it's work.
It's work. It's absolutely
work.
It's work.
Whew.
It's like a hookup. It's like a random hookup, except for the fact that you have to make sure they're happy, and that's work. And it's also really it's service. To do it well, you've got to care about the person for the time you're there with them and service them. And when I say service, I don't mean specific sexual acts. Service their mind and their souls. So it's work. I respect.
It's work.
I respect sex workers.
And as much as we demonize and vilify sex work, it's I don't, that's a whole
Yeah, yeah,
nother
yeah.
Oprah all by itself.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, I really actually wanted to have this conversation with you because you brought it up twice already where you don't understand race. And hearing your backstory, I kind of get it. But looking at the world the way it is right now,
Hmm.
how do you make sense of it?
Well, I continue to like not really try to identify my place in it all because I can't. Because my origins and where I grew up and where I grew up, um, I don't really identify as being any particular race, so I can't really identify where I sit with all of this.
Okay.
I am aware and I'm totally conscious of. There's no question that I'm not white and I'm not black, and I'm not really any of the others, but I'm definitely not either of those. And I admit without any reservation that I have benefited from the privilege of not being black, and I've
Mm-hmm.
also experienced and been subjected to biases and prejudice for not being white. Those are all part of my life. I'm like walking through this on this channel between the two, and
Mm-hmm.
have my entire life. And I'm more aware of it now, looking back at instances in the past and things now. It's like, yep, this is like the Red Sea walk that I'm doing through my entire life, and it's what it
Every
is.
day. Yep.
Every day, every day, every day. Um, and I try to, like we all do. I leave room for white people to not be white around me. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, I need you to explain that.
Well, it's like, okay, I don't think of myself as being any of the above,
Uh-huh.
because
Uh-huh.
because I am not, you know. And there are white people who are totally, and these are the ones who are conscious of their privilege, more often conscious of their privilege, and some of them, the others who aren't conscious of it, but they don't think that they're white. They really think that they're human first, and they know this, and they treat the rest of us the same way.
Okay. That goes into a topic that I bring up on every conversation that I have.
Bring
White
it.
people, black people, you.
Uh-huh.
And I don't mean that in a dismissive tone, it's just humor. Um, every time I ask that question, my opening question, when did you learn about race?
Uh-huh.
Every white person I've spoken to date, meaning up until this point,
Uh-huh.
has talked about an interaction they've had with us.
With you?
No, with
With
us,
them?
meaning any black or brown, with
Okay, okay.
any
Us, you.
non-white
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
person.
Right.
But
Yeah.
when I bring up the fact that white folks are a race as well, that's not how they see themselves. They see themselves as individuals and us as a collective.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of that goes around for sure.
And so when conversations about race come up, usually folks get defensive.
Hmm.
And the minute you're defensive, you stop listening
Yes. Yes.
because you're just trying really hard to gaslight me into believing whatever it is you're trying to force down my throat.
Right. Right.
And just recently, I was somewhere, and this white fella says to me, I get a really, really good tan. I was like, uh-huh. If I tried hard enough, my skin could get as dark as yours. And I was like, don't fucking say that shit to me. That's the dumbest shit you've ever said in your life.
Uh,
What do you mean? No, watch. Just watch. I was like, just stop. Just stop.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Based on your reaction, I'm sure you've heard that before.
I've heard similar kinds of things from people trying to gaslight me into thinking that we're the same because they can emulate some of my experience. Does that answer your question? And whenever that happens, I'm really about as easygoing and passive as it comes in interactions. I rarely get pitched up to the point of actually saying "fuck you." No, rarely. And whenever something like that happens, I'm like, okay, so that's where we are, and I'm just going to back away a little bit because there's not going to be enough going on here.
And I have a tendency of repeating back what you've said the way I heard it,
mm-hmm.
so that you understand how I'm hearing this.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't intend it that way, I will give you grace to correct it.
Good.
However, if after I've repeated back what you've said and you co-sign on what it is that I've just repeated back, anything after that you have coming to you.
Yeah. Well, Jonathan, giving them the opportunity to correct makes you a more generous person than I am. Really generous in not just like giving them the room, but generous in giving them the opportunity to learn. I'm more inclined to say, oh, no, goodbye, bye.
Mm-hmm. And you know why I do that is because I'm more concerned for the person that your white stupidity comes across, someone who looks like me, and you say the wrong thing to them and they beat your ass. And then that person, the person who looks like me, gets a court case. I don't want that for them.
No. Yeah.
So
yeah.
I'm correcting you. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the fellow black or brown human that you come across.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more concerned for them. Because trust me, I can take anything that you're going to say. As I've said for years, I've been called worse by better. There's nothing that anyone can physically say to me that hasn't been said more eloquently by a more intelligent person.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I feel like it is my obligation to correct you in any way I see fit.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's kind, sometimes it's not.
I'm sure sometimes it's a lot of fun.
Sometimes it's kind, and sometimes it's not.
It's not. I'm sure.
Now, chunky transition. How did you find yourself in leather community?
Oh.
See me announcing chunky transition?
Okay, well, interestingly, I've never been afraid of leather in any manifestation or concept of it.
Mm-hmm.
When I was really young, like 19, living in San Francisco, I actually gravitated more towards Levi leather bars because the guys were a little more masculine and attractive to me. And ended up playing with guys who were like in full leather. And I just thought, okay, so they're wearing leather, big deal. So what? It's still sex, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And through the years, I started taking on I guess the look of more leathery kind of gay guy. It just happened. I mean, there wasn't back in Hawaii in my 20s riding a motorcycle wearing engineer boots and a leather jacket, not thinking of it as meaning anything sexual. It just for me, it's like, that's very sexy. This is masculine. This is what we want to be. I never thought about it as being anything sexual or any indication of like of sexual preferences or activities, right? And continued on when I moved to New York. At some point after I broke up with a boyfriend who was with for like 14 years, who is still my very dearest, closest friend, lives upstairs.
Amazed.
Yeah, it's so cool. We're having Shake Shack later. I hit a point in my life where I just really wanted to like explore greater connections with another man in every possibility of how we can connect, including the sexual. And I was in a relationship with another man after that where we started exploring some of the all of it, several aspects of BDSM, bondage and discipline, sado and masochistic interactions between each other. That relationship lasted for a little bit, and then after that, I found myself gravitating more towards people who identified as being leather or part of the leather community because of the sexual things I was growing to enjoy doing.
Okay.
Yeah. I never really identified as part of the community because I never thought of it as wanting to belong to anything or anyone. Having grown up as an other from a very young age, all the way through my entire life, being a part of a group or a collective or community has never been a goal or a want or a need of mine. I've always managed to find my own self, my own identity, whatever it is, as defined as it is, being all I need to do and can do because I can't fit anywhere. And seriously, I never quite think I fit anywhere still.
Do you know what's interesting? I just said that exact thing to my partner last night.
Really?
It's like you stole the words from my throat. I said those exact words last night.
Good for you.
I have a very unique set of circumstances that brought me here, and never in my life have I felt community. I've been a part of things. I've been, part of lots of beautiful, beautiful things, but community in the sense of, this is my tribe. This is my, because most of the time I'm always the odd one out. Back when I was a little backstory as to why I asked you about the leather Levi thing. Back when I was a baby glamazon in Colorado, I lived in Colorado, moved there when I was 20 years old. I was back in the Army, young, cute, sophisticated, high titties. It was lovely. And I got out of the military, but I stayed in Colorado. And this story begins when I was 21 years old, my first gay pride. We had driven from Colorado Springs to Denver, Colorado. 60 minutes. Me and some queens from the Army whose names escape me. So whatever. And I was wearing tiny little thing. I was wearing a white tank top that had cut off with some white cut off Daisy Dukes because I was a virgin. And
what year was this again?
1992 or three, somewhere in there. And I was wearing white. I was basically wearing all white, but dressed like Daisy Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard, for minus the Confederate flag for obvious reasons. Anyway, my friends are all like, okay, we're gonna go to this bar because they had all been out before, and this was my first time in Denver. And they take me to this bar called the Eagle. There's a new bar in Denver called the Eagle now, but at this particular time, it was called the Triangle. It's called the Triangle back in the 90s. So I walk into the Triangle and it was filled with a bunch of white dudes because Denver is very, 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 very white. And they're all like, and this is the middle of the summer because it was Pride, and they're all like wearing all this leather and harnesses and this whole 9 yards. And here my little black virgin lass goes in here, skipping, hair and ponytails. Just I walk in and the whole room kind of looks at me. And I'm all like, oh, ooh. So I'm slithering around, wandering, and my friends are all like, let's go down to the basement.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So here I am going down to the basement, virginal, all in my whites, looking cute. I get down and there's a semicircle of fellas, all in leather. And there was another guy in leather boots in a harness. I'm sorry, in a sling, leather sling. Then there was this big dude, fisting him like up to his, like with both arms. And I lost my mind because at that moment when I visioned this, there's like dude's hands all over my creamy chocolatey thighs, and I couldn't take it. So I run up the stairs, run out of the bar, and run down the street, just screaming and flailing about because I couldn't. That was my first time in a leather bar. Cut to several years later. I've gone and I'm glamorous. I'm admittedly a glamorous human. I know it, and that's just who I am. Clothing is how I've navigated the world and has kept me safe. It's given me because of the way I present myself, everywhere I go, I'm treated beautifully. It's an armor for your
agency. Clothing helps you find your agency in any
environment. It's my armor that it absolutely dictates I'm going to be treated exceptionally, even if I'm Black. You're going to treat me well because I look too expensive for you not to. And I do that on purpose. So here I am, and I've gone to leather bars many times since then. And always glamorous, always kind, always lovely. It is the most uncomfortable place for me to ever go. That is the most uncomfortable and unwelcoming community I've ever experienced.
Really?
Seriously.
Interesting.
And I walk, hey, how's everything? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm there, I'm bubbly, I'm lovely. I'm just, and I suspect it's because I'm not in the same drag, or I'm not in the same tribe, or whatever the case it may be. My theory is, if we've all been used to being treated like shit, why are you treating me like shit because I'm not in your same drag?
Right.
And then on top of that, there's always been a little racist disrespect attached to that. I've had I've been called N-words several times in leather bars. I've been referred to as, hey, you want to be my slave? You look good in chains, that whole thing. And that's very triggering for me. So it's been and I have friends who love going to leather bars and what have you. And I will go and hang out with the friends, but the reception that I'm receiving in the general room is largely hostile.
Okay. We need to go out sometime.
Well, if I'm with you, everyone will treat me beautifully because it's you.
Well, now, yes. Maybe now because I've been Mr.Eagle, and I'm treated nicely when I go out to the bar, to the Eagle here in the city. Treated really nicely. But I was always treated nicely before, because I assumed the exterior role of what one expected in the bar.
Yes.
Yeah. If you challenge that and say I'm valid as I am in this environment without looking like you, it can actually I can see how it can provide a hostile environment. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. When we say the leather community is, oh God, I just said that. When we say leather people, leather community are very inclusive, it really is saying that anybody who is well into developing their own sexual identity that's beyond the pale, which often includes leather, whatever it is, no matter how different it is from anybody else here that's doing the same thing, everyone's included and supported. Does that make sense?
In theory, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I all I'm doing is sharing
Your experience, I get it.
my experience, and I really wish that it was just a New York experience, but it is not. It is an experience with every leather bar I've been to in every part of this country.
Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit because I didn't quite answer your question earlier, and I'm going to address that first, and then go into talking a little bit about your experience. Okay.
Sure.
You asked me when did I fall into become part of the leather community? Or the leather
When did you become a part of the leather community?
Okay. It was a few years after that one relationship was where I started exploring and dabbling into BDSM dynamics with a partner, that I realized that there's some of the stuff that I enjoy doing that's just not part of the mainstream sexual pool among LGBT people, right? Excuse that, but among gay guys, because I'm not playing around with the whole package. And so I started, started going to the bars and I started meeting at the Eagle, and I started meeting other guys who were into things as in stream in what they were doing as what I was doing. And we all started just saying, okay, well, you're cool. You're doing that. Wonderful. I'm doing this. We're all supporting each other. So it became something of a community, more like a gang of guys or a bunch of guys who see each other regularly. We never said we're a community. It was just like, oh, these are folks who keep showing up, and we all know that person's all about what they're doing, and we accept them and support them. That's where that all happened. So when you asked about how I became part of the little community, I'd say that was it. Nothing. Wasn't like, there's a club, I get a membership card, nothing like that. When a few years after that, when I moved to San Francisco in 2010, I became friends with this Uber fag hag, fabulous person, Susan Riva, and she started referring to me on Facebook as Leather Daddy Thom. At the time I was in my early 50s, and I thought, I'm a leather daddy? What is it? I never identified as being a leather person. It's like, I wear leather, I do sex in leather. I never identified as being a leather person, leave alone a leather daddy. And that point when started thinking, okay, so I guess this is a thing. This is being perceived. This is being welcomed in. I'm okay with that. It doesn't impact who I am. It's just how people are packaging me for their consumption. Right? Then I moved back to New York, and after a year and a half here, I competed for the Mr.Eagle contest, as you know, and I got the title and spent a year really part of the formal, loose leather community, trying my best to be a pleasant face for representing everybody. And for the bar, as an ambassador of the bar, as much as I possibly could for anybody and everybody who would actually care for it while I'm actually in the bar or outside the bar and other activities around the city and the country. So yeah, I'm a part of the little community. It wasn't something that I just said, let me in, here's what I do. It just happened, okay?
No, I get that. Yeah. And by no way do I want to seem like I'm yucking your yum. That is not what I'm doing.
Oh God, no. I would never imagine you'd be doing anything like that. No.
That's against my ministry.
That's not our style. No.
Against my ministry. I love to get perspective, and I love that you provided me that perspective, because that's an insight that I did not have.
Yeah. It's not like I said. There are some people who walk up and say, "I want to be part of this community." It's like, I never did that. It's just kind of fell into it. It's like,
they're like, "Girl, go buy your drag."
I have a friend who I adore, and to almost the point of worshiping, a real close, good friend, dear friend.
Mhm.
who's another Mr. Eagle from our earlier year, who really avoids and abhors the term community, because once you start placing a label on people like that, it becomes a stringent entity with leaving a little less room for individuality.
Hmm.
This,
That's that's an interesting take. And I always look at community as a place where you can just be,
yes,
and those who love, respect, and honor you will are allowed to share space.
yes, yes,
So in that, oh well, in that regard, I'm filled with community in the
yeah.
way that I fashion community.
I
But yeah, but in the way that I fashion community, I guess I'm filled with it. But in the traditional way, not necessarily, because I've never met my my similar person.
yeah.
The person closest to my level of nutty is in the
Huh?
other room, and I get to sleep with him every night.
Hooray for you!
I
Hooray!
know, right?
Hooray
It's
for
like
you!
I found another nutty unicorn, and I was all like, okay, well, we have to be together because this is the
Yeah.
only thing that makes sense.
So how long have you been together?
3.5 years.
Okay, cool, cool. Oh, it's
We
still fresh.
met we met so randomly. We met on April Fool's Day. That was also Easter Sunday.
Uh-huh.
And I went over to his apartment and we sat on his floor for 4.5 hours and talked about everything.
Uh-huh.
Then I walked him to the train and he gave me a kiss on the cheek because we're ladies. Um, and he said, I'll text you later. He texts me 5 minutes later and we text all day. Then we had 7 dates in 7 days.
Uh-huh.
And then 6 weeks after we met, he went to Michigan to direct a play. And we started corresponding with each other in old-timey letters, and we fell in love like that way. I went to his opening night. I surprised him on opening night. I got there 10 minutes before curtain came up. And that's when we told each other we loved each other. And we've just been a nutty pair ever since.
Wonderful. What play was it? What show was it?
He directed The Wizard of Oz.
Cool. Cool.
And it was real. His art style is incredible. And he did all the stage design. He directed it. He choreographed it. He did all the costumes. He did everything.
Fire out. Okay,
And
cool.
now I'm surrounded by all of these paintings or his current projects.
Okay, well, I'm glad you have found your pair.
I found my person and it makes sense. And I hope one of the other things that we do frequently is have constant, open, honest conversations about race because we have to.
He's white?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. We talk about it frequently. We talk about it openly. We talk about it honestly. And in some moments it's uncomfortable. In other moments it's hilarious. Because we love to point out just the dumb, ridiculous crap we run into, we see, we hear, we experience. We were in a bar last night here in Harlem. It's a black gay bar called Lambda Lounge. Very cute. We walk in, we're at the bar having a good time, and he's looking around. And as we're walking home, after a couple of drinks, we're walking home, and he says, "It's rare when I'm the minority in the room." It wasn't uncomfortable at all. And then we just laughed. But it's just, he's a wonderful human. And we try to make light of the rather uncomfortable things that can come our way.
Good. Which is the best way to go through it.
It's better than being mad, isn't it?
Better than being mad, and also if you're acknowledging it in any way, even if it's like just to make light of it and find some way to put it in your life in context and minimize what it is
Mm-hmm.
in its weight. Great way to do it.
Because what I also decided after watching all of these beautiful young Black and brown and Asian and Hispanic and Latinx and indigenous humans struggle for equality, the one thing that I love to see is joy.
Yeah, always.
And what makes me so happy is to see joy and to see that, yeah, this world is a fucking garbage fire with everything that's going on. If we just focus for 3 seconds about Afghanistan, women's rights, voting, COVID, anti-vaxxers, schools, wealth gap. We could go on and on and on, but through everything, there is a reason why you got up today and why you're continuing to smile and love and explore. Because of your joy.
Because we do, because that's what we do. That's what we do.
We have to. That's the only choice.
Only way to get through it. I do want to come back though, talking about experiences that we have in leather bars, leather spaces.
Tell me.
And you.
Yes.
I've learned, and this is more like in my 20s and 30s, to be very careful not to perceive indifference towards me as hostility from people.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
They're two very, very different feelings, because indifference is invisibility, and I know that feeling quite well.
Yeah, I know you do. I know
that feeling well.
We both do. We both, no question. Mm-hmm. No question. When I'm in a bar, there's a level of invisibility that I experience, and especially even in the Eagle, my favorite bar, where I totally feel at home.
Mm-hmm,
I've been the license to feel as at home there as I can be by anybody who matters in my mind. There's a level of invisibility that I feel there. And I also know that if I don't show up acknowledging that I want to be a part of or want to use the bar the same way other people are using it for hooking up with other guys, as opposed to finally saying, here, this is who I am, take it or leave it, I can expect what can be felt as hostility.
Oh, that's like showing up at a sex party with an evening gown. I get you.
A little bit. or going to a sex party and not taking your clothes off, which I've done.
We've all done that.
I'm shy. I'm
shy.
I am. When it comes to like really private stuff, I have a level of shyness. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I've never posted. I can't say that anymore, can I?
I've never posted. Well, there was that one time.
I can't say that anymore. But I've actually, my privates have never been online till about just a couple of years ago. Let me just say that. Okay. And I'm into my years, as you know. And going, but to some degree, I am shy. But that's not what I want to talk about right now. I want to talk about the discomfort we feel in a space where we're not. Presenting ourselves as being the same as everybody else in any capacity, whether it's like on the spectrum of like uber macho to less regular gay, to being really built, to being just, this our natural body, to be, and also the color thing too. But for right now, to put the color thing out of it, that plays in as well. I'm totally aware of when I'm experiencing specific and sure hostility, as opposed to just indifference. But in a space like the leather bar, like the Ego anyway, it's hard to sort it out when there's so much going on at the same time. I'm just presenting that as a defense to the space, and I do want us to go out to the Ego sometime real soon.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Yeah. Don't wear a caftan. Wear a black tank top you're wearing now. Wear that one if you want. But yeah, let's go out. Let's go out.
How dare you say I can't wear a caftan? No, I get you.
Honey, you wear a caftan to the Eagle, you're going to get the
Wear whatever the hell I want to. and this is my argument.
Yes.
If I showed up at the bar, I would like to give you money. If you don't want to take my money, I will take me and my money elsewhere.
You're talking about the staff as opposed to people in the bar.
I'm talking about everybody.
Okay.
Look, every time I'm showing up somewhere, bar, restaurant, movie, I don't care where I am here trying to actively give you money. If you don't want my gay, fabulous black money, I will take it somewhere where someone does want it.
Okay.
And you can take that attitude and that and in all of this messiness elsewhere. Because if that's what you wanted to wear to come out tonight, that's good for you. I applaud you. Yay for you. This is what I wanted to wear to come out tonight. This is what makes me feel beautiful. This is what makes me feel sexy. You
said something earlier, though. I'm gonna pull this out. That you're a glamorous person.
Yes.
And for you, and which is fabulous. I like to think of myself as bringing a level of glamour as well within the leather milieu. Okay, like literally, seriously, there are times I'd go out and I'm dressing myself up. And I'm thinking, okay, Tom, you're bringing some freaking glamour to the bar, and which is great because somebody should, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But you also said that for you, that's something of armor, something of you put it on as armor sometimes, right?
No, not sometimes, all the time.
Okay.
Let me explain that. That is a statement that my great grandmother said.
Okay.
She said, and paraphrasing, you have to look at clothes. You have to wear something when you go outside.
Yes.
You may as well give them something fantastic to look at.
I'm all for that.
You're going to look at me. I'm going to make it worth your while.
I'm with you on that. Altogether with you on that.
And so when I say it's my armor, what I mean by that is I get to manipulate how I'm received by what I choose to put on my body.
Yes.
We all do. We all get that opportunity.
Yeah. But for me, this is myself. I try to stay keen to make sure that I never cross the line for myself, where how I'm presenting myself is armored to the point of actually pushing people away. Like I could show up, like for example, I could show up to an art gallery, a museum, whatever, right? And I can be done up wearing whatever I'm wearing to present something provocative and fun for folks to enjoy visually. Okay. I can also show up with something that's actually defiantly challenging for them in that context, in that environment. I do know that the latter won't serve any purpose for my being welcomed in, right? So I try not to. So wear a tank top, wear anything you want. You don't have to wear leather. Don't wear a caftan walking into the Ego. Remember, there's a thing. Everybody there, for the most part, except for people who are there probably drunk and with friends, people who are there want to meet other people more than anything else, and their chances are, like any networking event, they're feeling as unsure of themselves in space as we are, and it's a lot of that insecurity, whether it's dealt with or not, that causes what we perceive as indifference or worse, hostility. As we know this, right?
But the fun thing is, I'm never uncomfortable. I never feel insecure. It's like I made the choice to put these things on.
Right.
And my argument is I'm not challenging or judging anything that you're wearing. Nothing at all. I'm like, ooh, look at you. Look at those legs. That's fabulous. You do you. I love that you're wearing that. I love that you're wearing that. How dare you police what I'm wearing? Because if it's what makes me feel this way, if it's what allows me to negotiate the world in the way that I feel comforted, in the world that I feel safe, in the way that I feel seen and validated, what right is it of you, or and I'm speaking of the collective you, to police that?
None at all. None at all.
And furthermore, if I am in your establishment and I know what your establishment is about, and I've showed up there in what it is that I'm choosing to wear, that means that I actively know where I am. And I'm actively still trying to give you money. And I'm actively still trying to understand and absorb what your community is like.
Mm-hmm.
But that room, that community, that experience is so off-putting to just, if you're allowed to live and let live, why can't we?
Right. We definitely got to go out together. Because I'm with you on every bit of that, almost. Almost.
You're like almost.
Yes, we can all wear anything we want, and it's all valid. And there is absolutely no reason for anyone to say, "Oh, you're wrong because of how you're presenting." Period.
Yeah.
Unless what you're wearing doesn't fit well. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, you're right. No, that's absolutely correct. Look, you can wear whatever you want to, just get the right size.
Get the right size. Get the right size.
Get the right, baby. I love you. That dress is beautiful, but you may want to go a size up.
And if that leather shirt is not tailored to fit your body right, maybe you should be looking at that. Yeah, that for the upcoming Mr.Eagle competitors. Yes.
So on that note, young, beautiful man, I want to thank you very much for having this conversation with me.
Thank you. It's been wonderful.
I'm a better person for having had this chat with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is great. You challenged me. You always have. No, seriously, from the first time I was in one of the workshops with you, I thought, I'm going to have to work to get with this one.
I always have so many questions, and that's the only way we're able to learn anything from one another is if we ask questions.
Yes, but you also come with declarations, and they're all incredibly profound and good and valid. All of that.
Oh,
but you're not just questions.
Stop it. Stop it.
You bring a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to stop recording.